What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube. And today I've got another edition of The Drive-In, where I watch recently released films and tell you guys whether they're worth watching, worth waiting for, or worth skipping altogether. Today I'm doing one that caught my attention both because of the director and because of the fact that the trailer, in my opinion, was the creepiest and most fun-looking trailer for horror that I have seen in several years. I was drawn into this trailer. It would have been a film that I probably wouldn't have seen otherwise. Saw this trailer and it caught my attention about kids going missing. And I'm talking about 2025's Weapons. The trailer drew me in, the name on the directing, Bill drew me in, and I went to see this with a bunch of friends last night. Shout out to them. We went out, had some dinner, got a bunch of popcorn, watched this movie in a theater that seemed not full but pretty interactive and pretty enjoyable to this movie. Spoiler free. This just came out about a week or so ago, 7 to 10 days. So I'm not going to spoil anything. I will try and talk about the plot ambiguously, but I think it's one that we need to get into because there's a lot of things to dive into about 2025's Weapons. Now, this film was written and directed by Zach Cregger, who is a comedian at heart, did an acting gig for The Whitest Kids You Know, was involved in a bunch of shorts and skit comedies and things like that back in the day. Recently, much like Jordan Peele, made his transition into directing and writing horror, starting with last year's Barbarian. Now, Barbarian is one of those films that I loved all the way up until the ending. I had a really high grade on this movie and enjoyed a lot of how interesting the plot was and how the characters interacted up until the ending, which took the film down to that kind of 5 to 6 out of 10 range, average to slightly better than average. But I still enjoyed it enough and enjoyed the premise enough that I wanted to come back for Weapons. So Zach Cregger wrote and directed this. It stars Julia Garner as Justine, Josh Brolin as Archer, Carrie Christopher, I think, as Alex, and Amy Madigan as Gladys. And basically this film, without spoiling, it's going to be tough because the trailer does not give much away, come to find out. Basically, a bunch of kids have disappeared from this one lady's classroom at the exact same time at 2:17 a.m. All of the kids in the entire class, except one, got up out of their beds, walked creepily into the street, and disappeared into the darkness at the same exact time, except for this one child. And we go character by character to like 5 or 6 different characters to kind of see their story unfold as the town goes into an uproar, thinking the teacher is kind of involved in their disappearance or trying to figure out and go around. Some are trying to go camera by camera, look at their Ring cameras, figuring out what happened to these kids, why the weird coincidence, why at the same time, who's behind it, and why. Basically is all the story that I can give you guys from here. That being said, I want to start with my positives. The long tracking shots. The people shooting this movie used long tracking shots. And I mean, some punchy zooms, a little bit of tiny shaky cam that's not disorienting, but mostly a lot of just long continuous shots down corridors, down into convenience stores, following characters around for long periods of time and adding to the creep factor because you're looking around for these things that are potentially, can I say, creatures? Zombies, creatures, demons, we don't really know what's going on here. There are a lot of genres being blended into this movie, a lot of little subgenres being touched on masterfully in this movie, and you have these long tracking shots that are following the character, and they look pretty on screen, and they're fun to watch, and they're a little bit shaky without being disorienting or negative or like nausea-inducing, like a lot of shaky cam stuff is for me, but every turn of the camera could lead to something because you have well-placed jump scares in the movie that are used positively and not over-relied on as a scare mechanism. So you're waiting for what's going to jump out, and sometimes it never does, sometimes it does, other times it's other people relating to each other, because in this movie, the horror does not just come from what happened to the kids or whatever possible creatures are out there. The horror also comes in how we treat each other. It's humans on humans, leading to part of the negativity and the thriller aspect of this movie, which is what makes some of the earlier seasons of The Walking Dead really good, right? To make a comparison here, not saying it's a zombie thing, but The Walking Dead spends time with its characters, gets to see each of their perspectives, and the human versus human surviving each other aspect and watching humans deteriorate mentally and turn on each other is more interesting sometimes than what happens in The Walking Dead with the humans against the zombies. And that's kind of what happens here. you get individual perspectives, you spend time with your characters, and you watch them mentally break down and mistreat each other in a way that's sometimes scarier than the other forces that are out there. So I really enjoy the psychological horror aspect of human on human, and I also enjoy the use of camera and tracking shots, because there are some long shots in this movie that remind me of like the tracking in Halloween, that really adds to the tension and the character building, following characters around, feeling like you're in the room with the characters, and then seeing what happens when things go poorly. Early narration. In the first 2 minutes of the movie, you get the narration basically that you get in the trailer. I'm not going to spoil anything because if you've seen the trailer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But when you watch the trailer, you hope they don't give too much away because it's such a good trailer. When kids are good, when kids are creepy in a horror movie and they seem realistic and they tell a good story, it is some of the best marketing and best horror aspects that you can possibly bring to a movie, in my opinion, my personal taste. And I think the kid who voiced this, it wasn't the main, it wasn't Carrie Christopher, I don't know. It wasn't him, it was a different kid. But the voiceover stuff basically in the first 2 minutes just tells you what the trailer told you and expands a little bit. So within 2 minutes, you get a creepy narration, you get a good use of editing and camera, and you get kind of what the story is right away. Now you've got the next 2 hours to dive into the story. It's been set up for you nicely. You know what's happening quickly. The trailer stuff's out of the way, and now you're on to fresh footage and the movie. So the trailer, while being amazing, does not overexpose your characters, and they quickly jump you into this world and let you know what's happening. So right away, you're caught up. And if you haven't seen the trailer, you have the information now, and now you've got 2 hours to go along with the characters in their experiencing of this terrible tragedy. Next. The gore. Man, they don't shy away from certain gore in this movie. There are throw-up effects and creature things and some makeup and some scratches and some could you call it cannibalism? Could you call it eating? Could you call it zombie? Again, there's a lot of things happening here. But when they decide to go with gore and they decide to linger on it, it is very good. It is unsettling in some ways how much they hold it back in the right moments, and when they give it to you, when they let the gore go, it is really, really good. This, by and large, I don't know if I can call it a horror movie. This is what makes Weapons kind of confusing to me and hard to really put into a category, because I don't know how to rank this as a straight horror movie, because it's not a straight horror movie. It's a bunch of mini horror movies mixed with thriller, mixed with kind of whodunit, mixed with sci-fi. There's a lot going on here, and it's hard to really know how to capitulate all those things and organize it into its own category, because it is an experience and a movie all unto itself. That being said, the gore in this is very good. The ending in this, my goodness. The movie runs 2 hours and 8 minutes, and while it does not feel nearly as long, and it doesn't really, the pacing is not slow, but there are moments of like, there's nothing scary happening. We're just building with the characters. And there are moments they could pull back on that a little bit or add a little bit more tension to certain parts of it. But that ending is such a fast-paced ride. It is so much fun. The last 15 minutes, once you really fully know what's going on, because they do wait to tell you until the very end. You don't know what's going on for most of the movie, for better or for worse. I think it's a positive thing. But I do wish they would have given us a little more info a little bit earlier. That being said, when they get into the ending in the last 15 or so minutes, it is a thrill ride that is so fun and had the theater laughing and creeped out. And it's a combination of being so over the top that it's kind of funny, but it's also really creepy and horrifying at the same time to put yourself in the shoes of what's happening. That, again, when kids are good, they're creepy. And these kids in this movie are good and creepy. And my goodness, that last 15 minutes is paced over the top, and it's nuts, and it is so much fun that I wish some of the pacing had been kind of dispersed a little better. Not that this is a poorly paced movie or necessarily a slow burn, but just the sheer nature of the 2 hours and 8 minutes and the amount of characters we go back and reset to watch their POV, the storytelling device they use, can make it feel a little slow at certain points. Not much for me, and I'm usually pretty rough on that aspect of things, but there were a few moments. But when you get to the end, it is the most fun you're going to have, maybe in a theater this year. Now to some negatives. Number one, Julia Garner. I was really hard on her in the Werewolf review for Wolfman Wolfman, the new one, was the worst thing I've seen in theaters in several years. So bad. And Julia Garner, for me, was one of the worst parts of a bad movie. But watching this back, I'm not going to be as hard on her here as I was in that movie. I just don't think I vibe with her. Her acting in general, something about her doesn't click to me. She was much better, leagues better in this movie than she was in Wolfman. She was given better material, and she ran with it much better. That being said, partially her acting, and I think an even bigger portion, in the way that her character was written. She plays Justine, the teacher that is being blamed for the kids disappearing from her classroom. She only has one kid remaining. All the other ones were the ones that ran away. And so she gets kind of crapped on by the town and falls back into making some bad choices. But she's written with no redeeming arc to her. I feel like her character, what they could have, so I'm trying to talk around this without spoiling anything, what they could have done for her, because the way she was written is this messy person with a messy past who makes bad decisions. She's gotten fired from a previous job. She has relations with people she shouldn't have relations with. She makes bad choices. And yet she still loves the children, and she still is looking after them, but also it's kind of over the top and a little obsessive in some ways. And then you find out later that she kind of in some ways has to do some of these things. But the way she's written very ambiguously negatively. There's just, for being the main character and being the first real perspective we get, the first character POV we get, and kind of we're with her more than anybody else in the movie. I really wanted her to have a positive character arc where she made those bad choices in the past, but now she's discovered something. Through this tragedy, she's kind of getting her life together. I would have liked for her to be like everyone's favorite teacher and be super pro kids and be the protector of the children, which is why people turning on her makes her kind of make some bad choices, and they really like rail on her for having the coincidence of their kids being gone from her classroom, and then she is doing what she can to protect them, but she's not really able to get fully involved, which kind of drives her off the rails. And then she discovers something which then reconciles her name and saves her reputation, and she kind of can make amends for some of the negative things she did in her life. I like her as a positive force that gets unfairly judged, which makes her then have to come back around. They wrote her as, a main character, but also just somebody that you don't trust in a lot of ways, from like alcohol to sexual partners to her past to her methods for trying to find these children. It all seems a little seedy to me, and again, part of that might be the acting that I'm not connecting with, but I think the writing really does Julia Garner a disservice in this movie, and all the characters are interesting, and her character's interesting too, but all the other characters have more that I enjoyed about them than hers, and she's kind of the main character, so I think they kind of failed her in this right. In a movie that is an individualized character study where everyone kind of has interesting arcs, I think that they gave her the least positive things to do and kind of the least bang for your buck for the amount of time you're going to get her on screen. So that's a big negative for me. One too many characters. Again, the movie runs 2 hours and 8 minutes. That's a little long for my taste for any movie. I don't care what you're making. And again, that's a personal taste thing for me. My physical body hurts when I'm sitting in a chair for that long. I have a neurological disorder. I have CP, I have spinal stenosis, I have fusions. So for me personally as a viewer, sitting in a theater that long makes me uncomfortable. This one did not make me as uncomfortable as some others have because I was more invested and more engaged, which is a credit to their writing. But the two of these characters to me, while having good moments and being good comedic relief and having a good moment of gore for one of them, and one being kind of the funny one, they had their moments, and I understand why they were in there, but they could have trimmed their arc entirely, or at least made their journey very, very significantly shorter to shave off 20 minutes of this movie, and I think it would have been perfect. I would have loved a long-form version of this that was 20 minutes shorter. I think at an hour and 48, an hour and 50, I think you really have a great character study that's kind of a slow burn, but paced so well, and the characters are unfurled so well that it works. I think they could have cut a little bit off of two of the characters' arcs, or cut one character out entirely, and this would have been an even better, more succinct movie that takes its time in the right spots, but still packs a lot of punch. So I would have cut down one of the characters, or two of the characters. Ambiguity on rules. Some of the rules for what happens when we find out kind of who the big bad is and kind of what's behind this and why it's happening. Some of the rules are very ambiguous. There are some things about totems that are a little weird. There is some iconography in the sky, some symbols that don't fully make sense to me. There's a little bit of non-delineation on what exactly the force behind this is, or why exactly they're doing what they're doing. What the benefit for the big bad fully is. We don't see it develop on screen the way I would like to. So in terms of the rules, my friends and I were kind of talking it over outside the theater, and I still had some little questions about, like, well, why did these kids go after this thing? Why did these kids do this? Why did this person, how'd they have access to this thing? Why did this person attack this person but not this person? Why do the rules work for this set but not this set? Things like that. And that ambiguity, I know we're meant to kind of make our own conclusions and connect the dots and watch the movie over again, which I'd be interested to do, but some of the dots there just don't really connect, or they don't answer enough of it. And for 2 hours and 8 minutes, you got time to answer it. So I'm going to give that a negative spot there. Overall, this one is the most interesting movie I've seen this year. It is the most worthy of talking points. It really does a nice job in revolutionizing some mini genres. There are some aspects of attack, cult, family, zombie, alien kind of things happening that I think do it better than a lot of modern movies do. I think there are sci-fi elements that are great. I think there are character elements that are great in psychological thriller. I think there's a whodunit aspect that holds itself till the end nicely. I think the pacing of the end is great. And overall, I like the acting and characters. Again, Julia Garner in part aside, I liked a vast majority of that. But it's so hard to rank. I'm still, as I'm reviewing it, I'm getting higher and higher on it as I talk about it, just like I did last night. I started off a little bit negative and got higher and higher as I review this, but I'm still in a weird place in terms of where to put this as one of my favorites of the year. It's definitely highly up there. It's been a bit of a weak year that is coming together now, with Together, the movie Together, and this movie. It's going to be in my top 3 for sure right now, and probably even by the end of the year, because it is a very good movie. It is competently shot. The characters are good. The reveal is good. The pacing for the most part is good. The acting for the most part is good. The kids are very good. The narration's great. The gore is great. There's a lot to love here. But still, some of the ambiguity, some of the pacing, a little bit of the extra stuff could have been trimmed down. So it's not a perfect film. That being said, I'm going to sit right now at a 7.5 out of 10. That might be a little low or a little high. I don't know. I'm going to go 7.5 out of 10, and I'm going to say Weapons right now, as of this review, it's probably going to change a few times, but is sitting at number 2, best of the year, behind Together right now for me. I know I like Together more. Weapons right now sits at my number 2. It could fluctuate between 2 and 5 right now, but I like it at 7.5 out of 10. What did you think of Weapons? Tell me in the comments down below. If you've seen it, please let's talk about it respectfully in the comments. Put spoilers in there as a warning if you're going to spoil anything. Let's not spoil it for the newer viewers. If you have not seen it in any way that I'm talking about it, I recommend you go see it. It is a very talk-worthy movie, and there's a lot to love. And the things that you're not going to like or not going to be sure about lend itself to talking about with your friends and making them go see it. So go see Weapons in theaters right now. It's worth seeing. Zach Krieger is a pretty creative writer and director that's got some great moments and great concepts. And I want to follow this guy's career more. I really like what he's doing right now. Very much like Jordan Peele. Still a little higher on Jordan Peele, but I like Zach Krieger a lot. Tell me in the comments down below what you thought of this movie. Let's talk about it. Please like, share, and subscribe to these deep dives if you want more. Come back soon. I'll be giving you guys a Steeler review tonight or tomorrow, and more film reviews to come. Take care and stay scared.